guys! I just started my fashion classes. One of my courses is really hands-on, so we actually get to touch our patterns, touch our fabrics, and actually make a garment. And I'm learning so much already, and it's only been a week. I also wanted to start making sewing basics for beginners. But before I go into that, I think it's kind of better if I did like a show and tell on what is in my sewing kit. So this is my sewing box right here. It has a latch on it where you could put a lock if you feel like no one should be touching any of your gems or anything. I got this box at Michael's. It was like $2.50. It's really cute, and you could actually decorate on the top if you wanted to, but it only has my name. So we're going to open up the box. Whoa! The first thing that you really definitely need for sewing is a good pair of fabric shears. Fabric scissors can cost anywhere from $10 to like $80 a pair. This one I have is from Singer, and I got it for $25. So it's really nice. It's heavy duty, heavy weight, it's angled, and it's an 8-incher. So you could use it to cut fabric very nicely. I have my name on it, of course, because I don't want anyone to steal my scissors. A second pair of scissors that I think you should have is just one for cutting paper. The reason why you need to have 2 pairs of scissors is because it's not good to cut paper with fabric shears, and it's not good to cut fabric with paper shears because it's not sharp enough. And you don't want to dull this one out by cutting paper with it, you know? So just try to keep them separate. I mean, it's good to invest in these 2 things. Another pair of scissors that I really enjoy having around, you necessarily don't need this, but I really like this little clipper. It's a thread trimmer or whatever they call it, I don't know. But I keep it right by my sewing machine so I could clip threads instead of pulling it to the back and going through that razor thing. I just don't like that. So this is what I use to clip off my threads, or when you're done with your project, you could just snip off your threads too. It's really small and it's handy dandy. But if you're gonna be sewing often, I think it's good to have one of these as well. They're called peaking shears. It's zigzaggedy, and it kind of looks like the scissors that you would use for scrapbooking to get that zigzag looking edge on your papers. These scissors do the same thing to your fabric, and this is when you're using the kind of fabric that frays a lot and you don't have a serger. You can use these shears to help it from fraying as much. I wouldn't say that you have to have this. I do think it's good to have around if you end up sewing a lot more. Now, aside from just shears alone, I like to keep a rotary cutter around. This way I could cut long strips of fabric. They're gonna be uniform, and I can make ruffles with them. I can braid them. It's really nice to have around when you're cutting a lot of fabric in a short amount of time. Secondly, something that's really important to have around are marking tools. I'm using right now the Prisma white color, just like color pencil. It works well in fabric. You can just sharpen it just like a regular color pencil, and so I have 2 of them just in case I lose one. Then I also have one in black for lighter fabrics. You know, you can also have Taylor's chalk, but I just buy a box of chalk from Crayola, and it's like 92 cents, and I sharpen it at the end, and I use it to mark my fabric. Also, when it comes down to marking things, I think it's really important if you buy one of these, a tracing wheel. You can put your tracing paper on top of your fabric and then your pattern on, just so you can mark all of your seam allowance lines or your dart lines and such. It really helps you out to have one of these as well. Most definitely you need pins. Pins are like $2 a box. They give you hundreds of them. It's because you want to hold your patterns to your fabric when you cut. You don't want to just lay your pattern on and just cut randomly, because it's not going to be straight. Your lines are going to be crooked. You're going to be beating yourself in the head if you end up cutting way more fabric than you intended to. Also, when you're sewing 2 pieces of fabric together, it's good to have pins to hold it, and it kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to look like when it comes together. Every hobby, you need a tool to correct your boo-boos. So you could buy a seam ripper. I think it's about $2 to $3, and it looks like this, and you could kind of open up your seams again if you made a mistake in sewing. But personally for me, I like to use an X-acto knife. Same price, but it's multi-purpose. You guys know how I am. I'm a huge fan of using any product that I could put multiple uses to. So an X-acto knife is amazing. It's sharp, so you have to be careful, but it works so much better than a seam ripper in my opinion. This one right here is a sewing gauge. This little doodad moves back and forth, and it kind of just helps you keep your seam and your hemming very uniform throughout the skirt or throughout the pant leg. It's really important to have this if you're into alterations or tailoring, because you want your 2-inch hem to be uniform throughout the pant leg. It's about $2, so I mean, it's kind of good to just have one around anyways. I did this way before my classes, but I also like to keep a pack of hand sewing needles around. It's so useful. You could sew on a button, you could sew on sequins, you could put beads in, just a lot of crazy embellishments that you could do with the hand sewing needle. It's going to take a long time to do all those things since you're so used to sewing on a machine. Even though with like technology and such, you always have to revert back to the old-fashioned way and do it by hand. Also with sewing needles, of course, you need a thimble to keep your hands from getting ouched. And most importantly, out of my whole box, I would have to say a tape measure. I don't think there is a need to sit there and eye out a pattern or try to just randomly cut out a pattern. You have to know your measurements. You need to measure yourself, but there's really no need for you to be eyeballing anything. Okay guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed my little toolbox. Go out, grab yourself a few little necessities that you might need. Hope you learned a little bit of something, and then soon I will be starting the basic tutorials on sewing. I have school!